From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicky Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Captain's Log Supplemental.
Miss Vicky.
Yes, sir.
You know what?
What?
I've been thinking about this Sentinel system.
Yeah. Tell me about the Sentinel system.
So what I was thinking was we have the one car that's got the aim dash that's slowing us down. Because installing the aim dash is actually, it probably is easy, but it's quite hard the first time. And we haven't figured that out yet. The Sentinel system is really easy to set up. So what I was thinking was, why don't we put it in the Lemons car? And we'll worry about the aim data information separately. And we'll kind of break it down into a project. Because then we'd have the motorsports video system that we really, really want, and we'd be able to stream it. We just won't have the data inside, but we have the data outside, so we can combine them later. But I think that's a really good solution.
So what does this Sentinel system do?
Well, if it had the aim data, it would have all the data on the screen, and you could see all their telemetry and everything live. But we'd be able to not only record it for viewing after the race, but we could actually watch our car during the race.
Ooh, like on the monitor and everything?
On a monitor, if you were at home and I was at a track, or if you were at the track and I was at home, depends on who gets the short straw, but we'd be able to watch each other.
It's something I've always wanted to do.
And you know what? If you're driving, you know what you can do on the Sentinel system?
What's that?
You can communicate to me with your hands, and I can't do a thing about it.
Even better.
So, if you need to give a wave or a Jersey wave, whatever you need, we could save it and see it on the screen. And then you can have up to 3 different cameras, and it'll have picture in picture. You'll have the basic main shot out the front window, and then 2 cameras where you put them wherever you want. One could be on the driver, or one could be on the rear view. It's kind of cool.
Then we can upload it onto YouTube.
We could bore millions of people on YouTube.
I love it.
All right. Very well. You know what the only downside I see about this?
What?
Your mom and my mom are going to be panic stricken the entire weekend watching this thing to see if everything's going well.
This is true.
We probably shouldn't tell them.
I like the idea of having a Sentinel.
Mm-hmm. Well, luckily we have maybe 2. Depends on how things go. We're going to try. All right. That sounds like a plan. That's the project. We got to get that ready for the next race.
Sounds great.
All right. Very well. Thank you, ma'am. Dominic Dawson, I am in need of an easy, simple, fun dominating with Dawson.
Okay. Well, I'm simple and easy and fun, so that's already knocked out.
I know. Well, just talking to you is always simple, easy, and fun. So this is an opportunity for what I like to refer to as story time.
Okay.
We all have to look back on, it could have been the car in general, or it could have been that specific day, but we've all driven cars that were not handling optimally. Some would call them evil. Some would call them bad handling. Some would call them ill-tempered. Whatever. Let's have a story about the ill-handling car that we were driving and what we did to make the best of a bad situation. I am most interested in both you and Vicky on this one. So I have a feeling I have a very good guess on what Miss Vicky's going to say. And I also just want to hear Ben's story. So who wants to go first?
I want to hear Vicky's story. It sounds like we got one in the chamber, maybe. Wacky,
right.
crazy handling car.
Mm-hmm.
Wacky handlings of a car.
something in the car was not handling the way you wanted it to. And what did you do about it? It was misbehaving. It was not doing what you told it.
The car or stuff that's left in the car?
Whatever. We can do multiple stories here. This is Dominic with Dawson. We make the rules.
Well, I know that somebody had left a bottle of Barbasol in the car.
The team secret weapon.
Yeah, for Thompson when we had to do the interior for anti-fog at the time, and that was busy rolling up underneath my feet.
Road Atlanta was another.
Yeah, that was one.
The same person, I believe, by the way.
So there was So there was no, we're gonna skip the other thing that was left in my car. This is a family friendly show.
So let's go with. Wait.
Were you around Race Bar?
Nope.
Race Bar leave something.
Three Pedal Mafia.
But Three Pedal Mafia, but it could be Race Bar ish.
Yes, it's somewhat along
Put it
the same
this way,
lines.
it was smacking on the back of my leg. That was tucked on the inside of my door. The first time I get into a car.
I have that problem every time I drive, but that's just me.
I couldn't figure out what kept hitting my leg, and I looked down, and it was,
it was there.
It was there.
Oh man! Race Bar dildo this one time, and our teammate's 10-year-old son was the first one to find it.
Yeah. Yep.
So, Miss Vicky.
Yeah.
That has nothing to do with the car behaving badly and handling poorly.
Car behaving badly.
I have multiple choices for you that you're going to. Here's my prediction for Miss Vicky. My cars don't behave badly. I don't remember this ever happening. Go ahead, say it.
That's right. I think I don't remember them happening.
Okay. Would you like me to talk about Portland? Would you like me to talk about Laguna Seca? Or would you like me to talk about I can keep going if you like.
So Laguna Seca, when the car was dumping oil on our shoes?
On the tires.
Yeah. So there was that. And there was the random assortment of camber on the one wheel. Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, there was that too.
So let's describe the situation.
It was terrible.
And then what did you do about it?
I hit a wall.
No. I know this. Okay. All right, let's go from the beginning and not the ending. So, what was going on?
Well, I do know that the tires were excessively slick because we were dripping oil into the car and underneath the tires constantly, and I think every time we had to come in, we had to put a quart of oil in, or more. Every time we had to keep filling it up with oil to run this thing.
It was like a 2-cycle engine. You put in gas, put in oil, shake it.
Oh man, that's rough.
I remember that one of our partners, Mental, his boots, his driving shoes were covered in oil because it was inside the cab too. Mm-hmm. How
did you clean that up during a red flag?
He's strapped into the car and I had to go in and lean into. Now, mind you, the door is cut and welded a quarter of the way down and wrapped around the roll bar. So here is my butt sticking out as I'm trying to reach into the floorboards while he's strapped into the car.
Her feet are up in the air, like twisted. We had several drivers say, hey, where's my teammate doing that for me? But
so that was terrible. And I'm trying to think what else. Are we talking about just mishaps on the track, like when you were driving?
So you've got a car that's not handling well.
Right.
We could be talking about the cookie car.
Oh yeah.
When it had a cookie on top. I mean, there's lots of cars we've had that don't handle on that particular day as well as we would like.
Yeah.
So what was the car doing and what did you do about it?
Well, for the one that happened with all the oil dripping, nothing we really could have done. We just kind of made do with what we had to do with.
As a driver, what did you do?
I didn't do anything. I just drove the car as best I could.
And how did that work out for you?
It just had to keep filling up with oil. I mean, it was okay, and that's not what caused me to hit the wall. What caused me to hit the wall was going 3 wide into a turn, and then running out of skill.
The Andretti turn for those playing at home at Laguna Seca.
Yeah. So And then let me see. With the cookie car, I had a 70-pound cookie. I would say, it was probably about, no, I don't know.
It's like 40 pounds. 40 pounds.
Yeah, it was probably about 40 pounds on top of
a
car.
5-year-old riding right on top.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, bigger, like a guy with a beer belly sitting on top, But anyway, the car became extremely top heavy, which affected the very light part of the back end of the car. It didn't do anything for that part. It just kind of swayed back and forth. So I had to just come in and take the cookie off because it kept causing me to the car to do weird things. It was very difficult to maneuver with this weighty thing on top, and it affected the way the car drove, especially in turns, because it just kept leaning and it was off balance. The car was off balance greatly. Like if we had this big cookie on top and we had put counterweights inside the car, that would have been different to kind of lower the gravity inside the car. But with the big cookie, that was a big problem. And it was a problem for me getting out. But then when the girls had gone out first and they were having difficulty driving the car when we were doing this. And then I went out and I'm just like, oh, this is bad, especially for two girls that haven't been, well, one girl that's never been on the track before, like a racetrack like that before, but the other one who is relatively new. She's been to a couple races, but hasn't really been seasoned yet. So I just had to come in and take the cookie off the top of the car. And the car, of course, we just drove much better. But
and then it was stolen.
And it was stolen and put on Cookie Monster's car.
Mm-hmm. So not exactly the best story.
I didn't think it all the way out when I was building that.
No, you thought about many things, but driving was not one of them.
No.
But not exactly the best story in terms of what the driver could have done or should have done, right?
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
Okay, so Mr. Dawson.
Yes.
In your long history and tenure as a race driver,
mm-hmm.
Have you ever had a car that just wasn't quite doing what you thought it could be doing?
Yes, I have. More than one time.
I would
think. First of all, I would like to talk about crap flying around the inside of your car while you're racing.
Mm-hmm.
I had a couple of those.
I raced the late great Doc Waldrop's E30 at NCM the one time I went up there. And he's got all this broadcast equipment, things that are like little black boxes.
Uh-huh.
Like the size of like 5 times as thick as your iPhone, but about that same size. So he's got this stuff all rigged in there. And I'm driving around. I hear something just going, I feel it sliding on my feet. I reach down and I pick up one of those things. It's like, oh, some black box device in here came adrift. So I stuffed that up under one of my legs because I don't want to slide around. So I just stuffed it up under one of my legs in the racing seat. Driving along, some other random ass black box is adrift in the car again. I reach and grab and pick that one up and stuff it up under my seat. And I just kept on driving. When I got back in, I handed him that stuff. Like, I don't know what these things are, but they're not doing anything anymore. And he just laughed. Anyway, that one wasn't that crazy, but it was just weird. It's always weird to just have random stuff sliding around and making noise while you're driving. But the other one, I was driving the infamous Shaq Daddy Specky 46 in an AER race at Road Atlanta, right at the beginning of the pandemic. And like the week before the pandemic really got going. Anyway, E46 is the first BMW to be drive-by-wire throttle, which means you have a throttle linkage going in. It means you're pressing the pedal, which is attached to a cable or something, or like I don't know, the internet tells it what to do. Anyway, I don't understand what drive-by-wire throttle is, but it means that the throttle pedal is a unit that can come off and still be pressed and drive the car. It doesn't have to be affixed to the firewall. You're not working anything through the firewall. You're working things through a cable. Shaq Daddy's whole ass throttle pedal comes off between turn 6 and 7 at Road Atlanta. So as I'm going to hit the brakes for turn 7, I'm going faster. I'm not slowing down at all. I'm speeding up. Well, what is happening? I can't not hit that. I run up and I'm just trying to not hit this E46 M3 who is braking and turning in an appropriate time. And I'm speeding up heading to turn 7. I'm freaking out. So I think I tapped this car a little bit. Like afterwards we talked about it. They were like, I'm not sure if you did or not. It was really close. I'm like, I'm really sorry. So it turns out that as I'm pressing the brake pedal, I'm also pressing the throttle pedal, which is wedged behind it.
That's less than ideal.
And braking at the same time. So I was freaking out. Not that fun. But anyway, I reached down, pulled the cable. I could pull the cable with my hand. Finally got the throttle pedal in my hand, and I squeezed it with my hand to drive back to the pits and go, throttle pedal came off. That was a really weird one. Anyway, I would like to talk about a happy time where a car wasn't ideal, but then I made the best of it. So I have to preface this by saying I love oversteer. People are always talking about, NASCAR, the cliches, loose is fast. In my opinion, it is. Give me a car that's oversteering a little bit, I will figure it out and get it dialed in. I would so much rather have oversteer than understeer. It's not for everybody, but I want that ass in hanging out. If it's got to be one way or the other, I'll take oversteer. Ideally, your car is perfectly neutral and dialed in and rotates and does exactly what you hope it would. But it's got to go one way or the other. I would prefer oversteer. So anyway, it was some weekend where we'd only had our daughter at this point. Yeah, we had. And so I was a little more free to go do stuff. Somebody called me and said, "Hey, can you come to the track?" It wasn't that big a deal to leave 2 kids. It's just leaving 1 kid. So I think Race Bar had called me. They were racing on the North Course at VIR, and I wasn't going to be there for whatever reason. But it was the Sunday of a weekend. And the people from Race Bar said, "Hey, can you come up? The car's doing something weird. And we just want to see if we're crazy or if it's really a big problem." So I went out there and drove Race Bar's car. That was the first day I met Laura Vernon. Anyway, whatever was going on at Race Bar wasn't a big deal. It was just a little bit looser than they were used to. It was fine. But also my team, Winsome was there. Winsome Racing was there. I couldn't make it that weekend. And I think Danielle Tripp was taking my place. And it was her first ever wheel-to-wheel race. And I was getting in right after her on Sunday. But they were like, "Hey, since you're here, this car is driving crazy. And, you started with this car. You've been racing it this whole time. Can you get in and see what you think is going on?" And I was like, "Well, sure, I'll come up here and drive a little bit of time." But in a race I didn't really actually enter, and nobody knows I'm here. So I snuck in both of those cars, I think, without being an official entrant. But I got an RE30, and the difference was trying to live up to Champ Car's weird, you pay a penalty for every point. You're working your way up to 500 points, I think. And if you go over, you get laps or whatever. So we'd always kept the weird little spaghetti noodle sway bars on our E30, even though it had like the Spec E30 at the time, not the most recent race, but it had the Spec E30 springs and shocks on it. So it was pretty good. But we never put some fatty sway bars, like real hot rod sway bars on there. I think for this race, the guys had done it and just figured we don't care however many points Chum gives us. We just want to race this car and have it be fun and have it handle it. So they had put these big fat sway bars on there, and all of a sudden that tied all the other stiff stuff that we had already done the suspension together is my thesis anyway. But we go out there and then that thing is snappy everywhere. It just wants to come around everywhere. Just anytime you hit the gas, it was the loosest thing I'd ever driven. And there were plenty of times where the first few laps, I was all elbows. I was just sawing the wheel. I'd be coming out of the corner, just sawing the wheel to keep it from either from spinning out or driving off the track. It was crazy. Literally, there's video of this. Maybe I should give you. I'll give you a link. You can put it in here for this video. But it's nuts. The first few laps of me driving, I'm just my hands are just scrambling all over the place to keep this thing on track. But it's fun. I'm like, oh, this thing feels good. But it was crazy. It was trying to kill me until I got it dialed in, until I figured out where it wanted to bug me all the time, and where it was, where the butt end was trying to come around. Once I figured that out, I started driving to that, and the car got so fun. It was like right on the edge all the time. I was passing people like crazy. And it was a really fun time. Like I said at the beginning, I love a loose car, but this thing was so loose, it was scary to me at first. Not scary like I'm going to die, but I'm going to be scary me like I'm going to be slow and this isn't going to be fun, kind of scary. But no, once I kind of got a handle on how much oversteer was, it was too much for anybody else in the team to really enjoy, but I loved it. But we always talk about how you set up a car, and you can't make it ideal for everybody. You got to kind of find a middle ground. Well, that was a situation where the car was ideal for me and nobody else. But it was crazy loose, and it took me a while to kind of get it dialed in. So I think I was only in the car for maybe 20 minutes or something like that. But I brought it back in and said, yeah, it's different than it was, but it's not bad. You just kind of have to learn how to drive to how loose it was. I don't remember what we did after that to kind of counter it, but I think there were probably adjustable sway bars, and we might have adjusted it. But anyway, once you're in the middle of a race, you're like, hey, why is it so waggy? You kind of got to get in it and figure it out. So and that was a situation where everything was adverse enough with the car. The team was like, hey, we know you're not here today, but you think you could maybe come down here and tell us what you think? So it was bad enough that it was sort of a crisis. And then we just got in and realized that the crisis was just that the car was handling way different than we were used to. And we were going to have to mitigate it.
So there's 2 obvious questions that go with this story, Mr. Dawson. Well, one is so how did the rest of the team enjoy the car on that specific, or did you make changes?
Well, this is on a Sunday. I think this was like the middle of the day on a Sunday. So I don't know. I don't think they did anything past that except me just confirming, like, yeah, man, it's loose as shit, but it's fun. You know what I mean? It was just the answer was like, yeah, it's not great for everybody, but it's totally fine. It's not a huge problem. We're not having a problem. It's just something that we kind of need to work on dialing in. But that was kind of the answer. But I think I got to it too late in the weekend for them to really affect change.
Okay, and then two, probably the more important question is, what did you do driver wise to deal with the excessive oversteer?
Well, right. So specifically, I had to kind of drive around for a couple of laps, realizing the places where the car was most likely to get loose with my typical inputs, like when driving this, like I was used to driving it. You know, I'm trying to think. I mean, for me, the biggest thing was just knowing where to be ready for it and where to start being ready to do corrections. I'm trying to think back. I'm sorry to kind of.
So it was more anticipation, probably.
Yeah, the biggest part for me was learning where it wanted to kick loose the most, and then being ready to react or already be planning to kind of counter steer a little bit as soon as it started, rather than like have a big swing when I wasn't ready for it and then have to fight it a lot to get it back in line. You know what I mean? Once you've had a kind of a big slide, or you can feel it trying to go big on you, and that's when it takes a big correction. So when we post this, we'll post video to go with this, but when we post it, you'll see the first couple of laps are a struggle, and then I get more and more used to it. So I'm prepared to correct. I'm probably timing the throttle a little bit different. I might be getting on the throttle a little bit later, knowing that the car isn't wanting to do that to me. But probably not. I'm probably getting on the throttle at the same time, just ready for a small fight with smaller motions in my hand than the big swings of just swinging the wheel back and forth. There's a couple times in the first turn out of the connector where I'm like just really fighting the hell out of the car just to kind of keep it on. And none of it was like an emergency. This is all stuff where I could have just gotten out of the gas and fixed it, but I'm trying to fight it on the fly. My attitude about getting off the gas once I'm on it, right? That's my attitude about it.
I was going to say there's one knob that you were unwilling to turn, and that was when the gas starts going down, it's going to keep going down. It ain't coming back up.
The gas stays down. No, like a sane person could have easily kind of thought, the places where it looks like I'm in trouble are not really like beep, 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 danger. It's just like you might have a crappy corner. You know what I mean? So if you're in a moment where it's like beep, 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 I'm going to die, get off the gas and get things back together. But there's plenty of instances in this video from this section of the race from me just kind of trying to deal with it on the fly, and like, how can I get through there quicker next time? So the big upsets and the instances where this car got like just crazy loose and slap happy, we're never like Ben's gonna drive up the track and slam the wall. It's just like, hey, it's not ideal. It's kind of a crazy handling car until I got my inputs timed down and kind of, like you said, though, gotten most used to expecting when it was going to try to pop up and then being ready for it. Because you can just with oversteer, if you're ready for when it happens, you can kind of be ready to just jump right on it with smaller corrections. And then, like, once you've done your small corrections and you get the tail back in line, that's the secret with oversteers. Once you got the back end tamed down, you are on the run. You know what I mean? You can come out of the corner so hard with a little bit of oversteer. But with understeer, you're stifled. I don't know. I hate understeer.
We've heard that.
Load that oversteer missile and fire me off. I'm ready to go.
Very well. So for those of us playing the home game, I personally would love to hear about an ill-mannered car and what you did and how it went and what you did to get around it. Because sometimes you have no choice. You're going to have to drive it, and it just sucks to be you.
Well, what about you? What did you run into?
Yeah, Bill, let's hear one of yours.
So there I was. We're at an HPDE. It was early in our career, and I go on this HPDE, and I have my Mini Cooper. It's a John Cooper Works. I bought it because I was like, we need a car.
Wow, that's what you started with?
Well, no, I started in a different car. So I buy this car, right?
That's and I'm car though.
All excited to take it to the track. All excited. Take it to the track. I'm in there, and I think it might have been HPD 1 or 2. I think it was 1, but doesn't matter. So I'm going around with my instructor, and it is just a pushing pig. It is 100% understeer.
Yeah.
And at that point in my life, I had no idea what to do. So the instructor's like, hey, it looks like, the car's kind of holding you back. And he's like, can I take it out? And I'm like, sure, we'll go out. He goes out. And it is 100% understeer for him, too. And he's like,
oh, wow.
There is nothing you can do about this. So my solution, Miss Vicky, can you take those headphones off? My solution was I went out and bought another car.
What?
It's too late. It's too late.
And,
Vicky.
and what car did that happen to be?
You're complicit.
Nothing.
Calm down. You're already complicit.
There's no reason why a Red Miata showed up at our driveway a couple months later.
The understeer antidote is a Miata.
Yeah, exactly. So then I found out, because I was very disappointed. I got this John Cooper Works Mini. It was awesome.
The Mini Cooper ended up becoming a company car.
Yeah, it did.
So he
oh my god,
he handed it off as a company car.
So then I get it back, and I'm like, well, we had broken enough cars where we needed another car for the HPD that we just went to. So I'm like, I'm going to buy a new set of tires and see if that'll fix it. So I buy the Bridgestone RE71R S's, the brand new ones.
Oh.
This car is a dream. Ben, if you ever come this way, I need to get you in this car with those tires. Yeah. It is so much fun.
That's crazy. So was the tires, huh?
Yeah, it was the tires. All tires.
Were you wanting to hear me tell a story about an actual bad time I had? Is that what you're asking? I got one.
It's story time, Ben. I can't be turned away. You cannot turn me away without stories.
I got one for you. So somebody you've spoken to recently on this pod, and who is also the twin brother of somebody you've spoken to even further back, Mario and Ian Korf.
I might know them.
Yeah, you might know these guys. Mario and Ian Korf welcomed me into their Lemons team out on the West Coast when I lived out there in Northern California. And my first race with them was in their first generation MR2. And
the Arc?
The Arc, that's right. The one that had the boat prow on the front. And we were fishermen that time, so it was painted white and blue. And I burned this plastic fish off the back end with my excessive exhaust gases, because I guess I was the one who was on the gas the most out of that team at the time. But yeah, it's funny. We had this guy, one of these other people that just came and rented a ride with us, was going to take the car out first. This guy's name is Harry Sperber, or was Harry Sperber. He may still be around. But he's the kind of guy who wanted to tell you about all the connections he had in racing before he ever got in the car. So like, yeah, my dad and I hired Bobby Rahal before he ever got famous, and ran around our team. Like he had all these illustrious names he was vaguely associated with in racing. So we're like, oh, this guy, Harry Sperber, should be able to go out and drive the car. He's probably like my dad's age at that time. So this guy, he seemed to me like he was in his late 60s or 70s. And he was going to go out there and get after it. And I forgot, something happened on Friday where maybe they were practicing it and they broke something in the rear suspension. Or maybe I think the mechanic was out there driving it when the rear wheel fell off, which how appropriate that he was out there when it happened. But
you can't blame anybody then.
Right. So in the hunt to fix it, I guess on Friday night before I got to the track, they went to this team who ran the same generation of car who had tons of spares. And they're like, yeah, this rear end upright should fit your generation of car. We just didn't know that, like, between whatever it was, like 1978 and 1978 and a half, they had a rear suspension geometry change. So we didn't know any of this. So the upright we got, like, hooked the shock and all the stuff back up to the body of the car. The one we needed was straight. The one we got had a dog leg in there or something like that. But it was off enough. Mm-hmm. And it really upset the handling of the car. So we reassembled the car for race day and got in it. And we sent Harry Sperber out there. This guy, Harry Sperber, is an unknown. Well, nobody knows him, but they also don't know me either. This is the day when I revealed to them that I was a brilliant race car driver and they should all trust me and listen to me forever. But that is yet to come. So this dude, Harry Sperber, goes out and drives the car and complains about it the whole time. And he comes in early. They say, all right, well, go ahead and bring it on in. It's not bad. And he keeps saying that the front end is loose. And we're like, Harry, what are you talking about? The front end of a car can't be loose. He's like, no, it's loose like the back end of the car, like, steps out. Like, it's just stepping out all over the place. I'm like, and so finally, I'm like, they all kind of look at me. Like, you want to get in? I'm like, yeah, I want to get in. I'm like, hell yeah. Let's go see what Harry's talking about. Because I'm like, this guy's an idiot. There's no way the front end of a car can be darting all around and wandering around like the back end can, right? You know what I mean? That sounds crazy, right? Does that sound crazy to you guys?
Does.
Yeah.
I know you're like, if the front end's loose, I got to go try this.
Yeah, so I'm like, hell yeah, let me go see. Because I mean, ultimately, my mission at that moment is to prove that Harry Sperber doesn't know what the hell he's talking about. So I go out there, let me show you what's wrong with this car. And I've never driven this car one time before. But I mean, also I've been driving cars and racing a little bit. So I'm not worried about driving a new car on the new track. Because also I've watched a million videos from Sears Point and done hours and hours of sim racing on Sears Point. So I'm 0% worried about knowing where the track is. More worried about what this car does. So I get out and I start driving it down pit lane just to join in when the people headed toward turn one. And this car is like just back and forth all over the place. I'm like the front end is just I mean, I almost hit the wall in pit road trying to drive down pit road. So I'm like, oh hell yeah,
That's
here we go.
Not recommended for your first.
But it was the weirdest handling car I've ever driven, and it was all down to this rear suspension upright we had changed being not exactly right. Just one was straight up and down, one was a dog leg. We just didn't realize there was a difference. But whatever micro change had been made within that generation of MR2, it really messed us up. So we ended up getting the right one at the end of the night for Sunday and had a better time on Sunday. But for that my very first stint in that car, my very first stint ever in Lemons, that thing is all over the place. I mean, I never left the track surface, and I like to think I still passed more people than I got passed by because the car ultimately was a fairly good car. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was the craziest thing. It was just all over the front end, was just all over the place. You just never knew which way it was going to try to point me and try to do something. So I mean, obviously you couldn't go crazy with your pace or try to run it as hard as the car could, because you kind of always had to be ready to be like, look, this thing's going to try to kill me right here.
Just in case.
Like we talked about before with, I kind of got a little bit of anticipation built in on where it was going to be, but this was so random you couldn't fully trust your anticipatory skills.
So your setup was just a little offset?
Well, no, we had broken something. And then we tried to replace the broken part with one from the same generation of MR2, but there had been some sort of change within that generation to the rear suspension geometry. So the upright piece we got was not the same shape as the one we had broken. And just that small difference was enough to really throw the handle of the car off that much. Because when we replaced it that night with the correct one, the car went back to being great. Like, so definitely when I drove it on the Sunday, I was out there wailing on everybody. The Sunday was truly the day where they're like, "Oh crap, this guy can drive," because I was passing all kinds of people. But driving it when it had the wrong suspension part in the back was crazy. It really truly was all over the place, and I do believe that a car can be loose in the front end.
I don't know how it got there, but it got there.
It was crazy. Yeah, but I spent my stint just kind of enjoying it, trying to stay out of the way of faster cars who weren't having huge problems, and. Just enjoy my time out there. I mean, ultimately, you fight to mitigate a problem. And in this case, for me, technically, I'm sure I backed down off the pace a little bit and just was ready to kind of fight whichever direction that front end was going to. Yeah, it was like a shopping cart felt like a shopping cart with 3 bad wheels. You know what I mean? It was all over the place. But like in that specific case, I just resigned myself. I was like, because also we touched on this. If not this episode, maybe the one before. Track time is expensive, especially racing. So if I get out there, I'm not trying to bail early. I'm gonna make the best of my time in the car, even if the car's not doing great. I'm still out there having fun. I'm still out there passing people. I'm on the track, So even if it's not ideal, you just kind of figure out the best way to make the best of what you are sitting in, and get after it. If you're focused on being fast, you're gonna find the best workarounds to what's not ideal.
You know what we're gonna have to do? We're gonna have to slide this one forward to the one with Mario on.
Yeah,
I think
all
so.
Right.
I think this one's going to move up move up in the queue.
Let's pop this into the Mario episode for sure.
That's right, for sure. So you just listened to Mario yesterday, and the one you're going to listen to in about 3 weeks will be the one we recorded just before this one. But don't worry about it. It's the magic of podcasting.
Excellent.
All right, very well. Now Vicky knows why we have a Miata, because
there you go. Wow, I like how you did it in public, so she couldn't really take her shoes off and beat you with them.
There were several nights spent in the bathtub sleeping. It's fine. I'm used to it.
She's just beating the fool out of you with her zapatas.
The nice thing is that the new house, we have multiple bathrooms for me to sleep in the tub, so I've got plenty of room.
There you go.
There it is. All right, very well. Remember, stories, ill-tempered cars, ill-behaving cars. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, tell us your stories. We want to know about wacky stuff that's happened to you. And I have plenty more wacky things that have happened to me that I have not disclosed to this audience.
That's right.
Yet. So
and we could have another story time episode just on this.
Yeah, totally.
That's right. And if the stories really, really good. We may call you in to a Dominating with Dawson.
We would love to talk to you, right?
That's
I mean,
right.
right. Let me check my co-host. But yeah, we would love to speak to you just about like anything. This,
pretty
really
much,
just anything. If you got some stuff you want to talk about, we'll get you on here. We don't care.
That's
we
right.
love talking to people.
That's right. If there's one thing people know that listen to this podcast, we've got low standards. We'll talk to anybody.
Low standards, no standards. Get to us. We want to
That's
talk
right.
to you.
Very well. Garage Heroes in Training at gmail.com or Instagram or Facebook. Very well, everybody. Thank you.
Good night. Thanks for having me.